Hello, welcome to a new video. So today we are going to do a ride to Nieuwegein, and we will end up at a windmill, which I didn't expect, but it's where we ended up. We are going to ride through a part called ijsselstein, which is also a small village, and then end up at Nieuwegein. And both of them are kind of slowly getting integrated in the city of Utrecht. Probably don't like if I say that, but that's what's happening. So we will try to, it's the Friday, I think the 14th of December, if I remember correctly. So it's getting quite cold and there are not too many people outside. And cold is relative, but yeah. So what I will try to do is answer some questions that people had while we are doing this ride. And one of them was about how do you know where to cycle? And it's an interesting question that you don't really think about, at least I don't. So we'll try to talk about it a little bit. First, keep in mind that the way that the camera is done, fixed on the bike, it looks like we are going faster than we actually are. So that means that it looks like I'm making decisions quicker than I actually am. Oh, that makes sense. Also, I kind of know where I'm going, and although the camera doesn't really show it, you have a lot more time to prepare, if that makes sense, if you're coming up to a certain point. But given all that information, let me give you some feedback on where we are going. So here, for example, you see that it looks like I'm not braking, but actually I know, because I checked with my eyesight, of course, because the camera can't move, but I can move my head, that nobody was coming. So it's not that I'm bicycling dangerously, but it's just quite easy to prepare. So there are several hints in the Dutch bicycle, let's say, infrastructure on where to go and if something is safe or not, etc., etc. So the first one, which we won't see many in the beginning of this bicycle ride, is that most of the bicycle paths are red, or they are red on the side of the road. Kind of a visual hint to any bicycle path in the Netherlands is if it's red, it's for the bicycle. That does not mean that there's always no cars are allowed. Sometimes there's a sign there called cars are guests. Sometimes it's just the way it is. I know this sounds weird, but if it's red, you can throw the bicycle on it. But also on a road like this, if it's in an area with homes, it's assumed that you can ride your bicycle there. Now that doesn't mean there are no signs. There are signs, and we can see several here. You see a blue sign and a sign on the middle of the bicycle path where to go. So I'm not claiming that there are no signs, but I would also argue carefully that you don't have to look at the signs. It's almost like a backup method. So if you are not sure, then you look at the signs. So this is a good example. I'm riding on a road which all the cars assume that I'm going to bicycle here. Did I check if it was a bicycle path? No, but it's kind of assumed. And that's not only from the bicycle's point of view, but it's also from the car's point of view. They know there will be bicycles there. They know that they have to check at the end. I'm not sure why I'm stopping here. It's a very good question. I hope this is not an old video, because I can't remember me stopping here. I guess my glove was not on correctly or something. But we continue our ride, and this is a good example in a way, because I know that where to go here, kind of. It's kind of blocked for all kinds of traffic, and it's sort of a little bit fiddly to get to the correct area. But I know you can see a bicycle sign over there. And again, a hint is being given because it's a red road. Of course, this is clearly not for cars. So by the end of this one, you can see what we call shark teeth on the floor, so that I know they have to brake. I also know that this is a bicycle path, which cars are allowed, because it's red. Again, a hint. here you can see a sign that says pedestrians only, so you're not supposed to bike on it, and I actually don't, because I'm too scared that I will hit the side or with my steering bar. So I nicely walk over the bridge. And here we see people working on the road. And again, it's difficult to see on my normal when I'm riding, but I'm actually very defensive in the way that I ride. I look around, I never use my mobile phone, so the camera is fixed. I don't even look at the camera. I don't use any gears on my bike, at least not manually, it's all automatic. I pay attention. I'm looking around and I'm paying attention. I'm also, if you watch one of my earlier videos, I don't record anymore while I'm driving. I'm just driving. I'm not being distracted by anything else. And this is a good thing, because sometimes you see stuff happening on the bicycle paths, especially with mobile phones these days, where you say like, or on this ride we are going to, or I think it was yesterday's ride, there was a lot of dogs, and I every time I see a dog, I'm always almost for sure going at a very low speed. So in this case I'm passing this one, you can almost think I'm not paying attention, but I already know every vehicle in the neighborhood before I even approach the crossing. Again, keep in mind I'm going a little bit faster, and it looks faster in the video, so there's more than enough time to prepare. And this road is probably not being fixed for 15 years or something, if I have to guess. It's actually next to a bicycle shop over here, which one of my bikes was. I got that from there. But you can see on this old road that there is still red on the side of the roads. This is quite a, I wouldn't say tricky road, but there's red on the side of the road, so all car traffic and the bicycle traffic know where to go. So we're nicely next to the water, so I will in this video try to put in some markers on a card, so that on a map, so that you can see where we are. I will probably do that every 4 or 5 minutes, or I will try to match that with points of interest, like the start of a village or a crossing of a road, so that you get a little bit more idea of where we are during this ride. Now on this map I will cut this one in 2 parts. So first we go to a park, which was my plan, in Nieuwegein. In Nieuwegein, which is one of the cities close to Utrecht and slowly being merged together. And I ended up at a windmill, which again was not my plan, and I decided that would be my endpoint. I had to circle around a little bit to find the road to the windmill. I was never there before. So here on the left we saw a recreational area, water area, man-made, that you can stay at the summertime. And again, you look at the road design, so there's another assumption that you can make in Dutch if you're bicycling here. Cars know that you're coming, but you also know that something has been planned for you. So if you look at the signage, here's a good example that I was not sure you actually bicycle here the first time. But then I see there's traffic lights for bicycles. So clearly this is for bicycles, right? I hope that makes sense. So sometimes you're a little bit doubtful, or even on the road we are now going on, and let's assume you would enter here, then it's a safe assumption that this is a shared road, right? And it's not like cars will be driving, if there would be cars here, which there could be because it's not clear in the design. It's clear that if you're driving a car here, expect bicycles. So it's kind of the other way around, if that makes sense. I'm not saying that there are no signs on roads, but this default assumption, and I think that's true in any area, And don't want to sound negative, but if you're of course in a different country where cars are much more, let's say, the masters of the road, then you have to make the assumption the other way around. You make the assumption that this is a place for cars and you should be very careful. In a way, it's kind of the reverse in the Netherlands. The car drivers know that there are going to be bicycles, so this is a good example. It's 15th of December, it's coldish, but if this would be summertime, there would be a lot of day people riding here with kids and dogs and all kinds of stuff. So cars know that they are there. They've seen them, of course, if they're riding, so they will be careful because nobody wants to get into an accident. Now, of course, there are exceptions, and on scooters or in cars or even on bicycles, there are always rude people, so you have to keep an eye open. But it's not the default position that cars are the main way of transport on a road like this. So most of the time on a road like this, and you might see that later on, is that if there's any traffic, it will be either from people living there, or they need to go to the farming areas. We see on the helicopter view now clearly, or they are delivery trucks. So on these roads, most of the time you find these white vans, and there are some kind of delivery truck for packages. Of course, a road like this does not need a lot of maintenance. There's very little signage. I wouldn't say it's not needed, but they probably, when this is being redone, I'm not sure when they will do it, but let's assume in the next 15 years, then they will probably make this a red road again to make this clear that this is a bicycle first road. Now, they do this over generations. It's not like the Dutch system of bicycle paths was made in a day, right? I would say on average it would take 20 to 30 years from a plan to be fully implemented. And that's because they're only doing it when they need to put in new asphalt or new crossing or something like that. I'm not saying they never decide to do it quicker, because sometimes they do it 5 times in 10 years because something is not working, etc., etc. But you can't do the whole country in one go. It will be too expensive. You don't have enough people to do it, and it will be a traffic mess. So it's more like when it's being redone, because roads need to be redone, then we will sort of upgrade it to the latest guidelines. So this is a good example of a road where I would say it's a compromise. So what do I mean with that? You see that I put a lot of trees on the side, but the trees will also destroy the asphalt. So you can see it already in different parts. In the middle of the road it's quite nice, nice-ish, because it's already getting older, but you can see these cracks in the road surface. And these are clear signs most of the time of the trees actually creating the roots upsetting the asphalt. And sometimes they shave it off, depends a little bit on the type of asphalt they have used, or at some point they need to redo it. I would almost say this is the biggest reason why we would have potholes is because of trees sort of growing like this. Potholes on a car road is, I wouldn't say you never see that in the Netherlands, but it's not really a big thing because they are maintained so much. So the whole idea about potholes or cracks that you can bike in is more a bicycle thing in a way than a car thing. You can see quite nicely on the Google, so the helicopter view, that we are riding below trees. So you can kind of see how in summertime you're in the shade, and if it's windy, then some of the wind has been taken away for you. So again, we are next to, we have been here before, of course. We are next to a major highway. I think it's 8 lanes. By now we have done so many videos in the neighborhood that I start repeating myself, but I'm also not sure in how many videos this has already been recorded. And of course, I assume that you're not watching all the videos, so sometimes I repeat myself. I think we've also been on the other side, and I will make it a little bit bigger. You can see how nicely they have designed some walking paths and some greenery on the other side of the road, and they also put a lot of trees in between so you don't see the highway. Of course, these roads have been there, well, not the highway, but these small paths have been there for quite a while. Let me count the number of roads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9 or 10. So again, here proof a white van, GLS, so that's a delivery service. And it looked quite dangerous, and I can understand if you're watching this video and you're not from the Netherlands, that looked scary. And I wouldn't say it lightly, but I know he knows kind of the unwritten rules, right? So he will slow down, I will not slow down in this case because I'm on the bicycle, but I will give small hints by going to the side, and he will do the same, that we are going to pass each other. It's not a big deal, it's the same as between cars. You don't think about it too much when you're in a car, and there's the same sort of written, unwritten logic when you're driving on a road like this. And again, keep in mind, in the camera everything looks closer than it actually is, and the speed looks higher than it actually was. There's no moment of danger in something like this. If the same van would be behind me, I will probably feel it a little bit more as not a danger, but sort of an uncomfortable feeling, happy if he passed. Uncomfortable might even be exaggerating, more like I'm waiting until he passes me. While he's coming towards me, I don't feel any danger, if that makes sense. Although in the video it did look probably that he's going at me quite fast. My goal is not to scare people in these videos, right? I can't remember, think about it. I think in the last month, I don't think there was anything where it was going like, oh, that was close or something. It never happens. Oh, not never, let me knock that off, but it hardly happens. So this year I'm going to try to make the 10,000 kilometers point on this bicycle I'm using. And in those 10,000 kilometers I made a few mistakes myself, where I was crossing a zebra path, so a walkway for pedestrians, that I made a mistake, and I was like, ooh, that I should have stopped. But I can't remember anything with a car where I was going like, well, that was close. So these nice willows at the side of the road, you see them quite a lot. And of course it's a good time to prune them, and that's what they are doing. You see that I could have waited way longer, but I see the man walking, so I'm already giving a signal by going to the side. And in that case I will check my mirrors. This is a good example of where I made a mistake. Let me check if I made a mistake. Yeah, so there's a bicycle path, so the bicycle path is the other path, I guess. But yeah, I didn't check the sign, but I don't, even now I'm watching this, I don't think this should be the bicycle path. So the other one looks like more like a walking path. So in this case, in my mind, I was doubting if I did the correct thing. But yeah, cars will probably assume that there will be scooters and bicycles on this spot and use it like that. I'm not that much in knowing all the small rules which you're supposed to follow. Like anybody else in the Netherlands, I just bicycle. But later on this road we ran into another bicycle person bicycling, so guess it was okay. So we are heading up to another water area, and I will put a map here, I think, of where we are. And this was one of the reasons why I detoured. So in this video we are going to do a little bit of a weird detour. So I said that I cut this in 2 parts. So on the return part I will call it canal riding or something, because we are using the canals to ride back, which is way faster. But in this case I want to go to this somewhat more watery areas and nature areas. And then we are going to through a place called ijsselstein. So here I made a mistake, I have to turn around again. Oops, okay, turn around. So going to an area called ijsselstein, which was kind of a detour, and the route planner, I was using Komoot in this case, actually for reasons unclear sent me through a part of the village / city, and I decided to follow that simply to have something that you can see a little bit how that village is built up. I could have side passed it and just skirted around it. I decided not to do that. Again, you see a dog here. Now it might not look it, but I was probably going like 4 or 5 kilometers an hour. So I will always slow down whenever I see a dog. This is kind of nice. That's one of the reasons why I took this spot. You can see in the 3D view. I won't make it bigger because I think the real one is nice to see. But you can see I'm going over these little bridges in this man-made water area. With these types of bridges I always have the feeling to go like whee. But you can see how this in summertime, of course this is now mid-December, this is quite nice. Again, this is a good example. It almost looks like we are very close and on the bicycles and passing each other quite dangerously. You didn't see him react, you didn't see me react, because again the camera and the speed is kind of misleading. So in the summertime this would probably be a very nice place to hang out, to do fishing. I think we already passed the fishing, some people fishing. Some birds going. And we are entering the area called ijsselstein. Later on, if I forgot to talk about it, we will see what I guess you could call it a train, but we call it a tram because it's a tram. And the only tram, unlike Amsterdam, the only tram we have in the area of Utrecht is going to Utrecht, ijsselstein and Nieuwegein. And they might add a few more, but it's very limited. Again, dog, so I slow down. Massive amount. Again, a dog, because you never know if they are going, they might sort of cross the streets on a leash, and you don't want to hit the dog or the leash. Most likely you won't hit the dog, but you might get to the leash. So here they do. This is officially Komoot routed this for me, but clearly they were changing something. So I had to go over the plates. You do notice that if they are rebuilding something, which might also be, so we're now entering ijsselstein, as you can see. If you're there, so this is an official bike path, if that makes sense. At least in the route planner. Yeah. So you might not recognize it, but here again you see a hint, right? the red road. I would almost follow the yellow brick road. In the Netherlands, I would almost say follow the red asphalt road or brick road. That could also be true. But here, it's very clear for everybody that this is a bike path. You don't need signs, and if you come by the end, you know that there's some hint there will be a next one. Of course, they put here a sign bicycle path there, but I'm guessing if you take 90% of them away, people won't notice for the first few months, and they will go like, oh, they removed all the signs. I'm not trying to make fun of this topic. I'm just saying it's almost become second nature, and one of the smart things in design is assuming your surroundings. I think this is very nice. Look at the houses on the left and on the right and the difference between them. So I think I'm going to do more videos next year talking about the different areas of the city. But there you got a clear example of what they say was built in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, etc. And I would say starting in the 90s they started to do much more variation. And I think it more colorful, but also just, I would almost say, less depressive. I mean, maybe not a nice way to say it, but if you look at something like this, I'm pretty sure they are nice homes, but it gives you a little bit of a different vibe than the homes we just passed on the other side. And we'll go to different areas of the city where you can see that happening. And by the end of this video we are going to, so the second video, because it's on the return path, you'll see that a good example of that where we go to a new area. So again, I am, in this case I am new, we both knew that I was going first. And that's something difficult you see on these videos. You don't see the subtle hints that you give with your hands or your head, or she's looking at you, that both parties know what's going to happen. So I can understand that maybe if you look at these videos or other videos in people bicycling in the Netherlands, that I would almost say all. So here I'm deciding, do I want to follow the route planner, which I think was going straight ahead, but I decided to take a shortcut because it was routing me quite weirdly. So I'm going in that direction. And here you see the tram line I was talking about. I forgot what I was talking about. Yeah, I was talking about the different videos. It's not all Amsterdam, because Amsterdam is, and let me repeat that, I like Amsterdam, I work in Amsterdam. But it's different than most of the country if you're talking about bicycles. There's no tourists on bicycles, that's one thing. But in general, I'm sorry if you're from Amsterdam, people in the rest of the country are nicer in traffic, and especially the bicycle people are nicer in the rest of the country. I would also argue that the cars are probably nicer, or less afraid, or more cooperative. Would be maybe a good word with the bicycles. And again, you see that it gives me a pretty good hint when to get off the shared road and where there's again a bicycle path, because they make it red. And again, I can't be sure, but I would not be surprised that if they redo this road, it will become a red road. I guess the same with cars and bicycles. You see the same thing happening here with pedestrians and bicycles. See, here's me coming probably. Sometimes I also kick back or I stop my feet from pedaling. Then you hear this sound from your gears, and that's a hint that I'm coming, and she is slowly going to the side. But the interesting part, of course, just as with the bicycle, she feels no need to walk at the side of the road. She walks in the middle normally, because there is this, niceness is probably the best way to say it, between different modes of traffic. Again, signaling by red carpet. And if I'm in other European cities, I think that's the best comparison, because there are some bicycle paths in some areas in Europe. So we're now leaving ijsselstein and slowly going to Nieuwegein. And going into the park where we want to be. So if you're in different cities, I find the thing that would, in my opinion, be the biggest upgrade is to start making bicycle paths red. My personal view, because you already see that that we look ahead almost. If we see something red, that we know where to go. I hope this makes sense. But I think it's it looks nice in my opinion, with the green, but it's also a good thing to wire into your brain, that it becomes second nature. Again, not just for people on the bicycle, but also people in a car. And this, let's say, trying to reduce the number of traffic lights, try to reduce the number of signage, has to be compensated by giving your mind these small hints of where you should go and what you should do, by things like having a red road. To adapt to it quicker than you would imagine. So I hope that's enough about how do you know where to bike. But it's, I have to admit, it's a little bit unfair for somebody in the Netherlands to talk about this, because we would be just as flummoxed if you are in a different city. If I bicycle in another city, I also feel the stress, and it's clear that there are different, let's say, assumptions that all the people in traffic are making, right? So I would also feel way less comfortable. And if you're in the Netherlands, of course, then you have to get used to it, or hopefully you'll watch some of videos like I'm doing. That was kind of interesting on the 3D view. See what is... It decided I did this. Didn't do that at all. Interesting GPS mistake. Again, but things like seeing a traffic light for bicycles is such a hint already that where you need to go. But in this case you see a sign up, bicycles go to there. And of course we use them. It's not, let's say, needed most of the time. Again, see the red pot, I know where I need to go. It was kind of interesting. I normally wanted to make the remark that we don't see many fat bikes. I noticed that when it gets colder, you see a little bit more of them. But also, most of them are quite nice. No, I should say it differently. Not all of them are being used for speed. So the girl behind me, I think I let her pass because I wanted to put it on video a little bit more. She was actually doing about the same speed I was doing. I was going about 25 kilometers an hour here. And yeah, not everybody disobeys the rules. Most of them will be unlocked and they go faster, but again, not all of them. So here you can see they use blue for the pedestrian passing. So I hold back so that she can pass me. But he was actually going about the same speed I was going. So now I speed up again or follow her a bit. If I have to guess, he was going 25, 26 kilometers an hour. You can also see in the way that she, of course, is in this case red, but you can see that if she would have to pass, he would probably not even slow down. But you do see that she also anticipates that the other bicycle is coming on their path and just goes to the left. There's no... Now she knows she has to go in because there's other bicycles coming from the other side. And it's all very natural. And I think the two that we passed were also on fat bikes. So you do see them more and more. But they're not being misused. And in a way, the misuse, which is becoming a thing in the Netherlands like any other country, I think it's overhyped or sort of fearful being sold that way. But same as with the scooter that we now see, and you had these racing scooters before. So every decade has its own. If you're a 16-year-old and you're mostly male, if you're a 16-year-old male or 15 or 17, you have a certain attitude, let's say it like that, and that will come out in traffic in some way. And where it was a scooter before, or a bicycle, a motorbicycle before, or whatever, it's a thing of all ages. And I think, let's say 25% of the fat bikes will have a 16, 17, 18-year-old boy on it, and that then, well, I wouldn't say all bets are off, but again, you kind of anticipate it. And even there, you could make the argument that people react using, let's say, the unwritten rules, right? So if I see a fat bike, or if I see an e-bike even, or if I see an old person, and I mean this in the nicest way, again, am I stopping here? Yes. Actually, good example. You see me brake, but I was already giving her hints that she could go, and she was looking at me 2 or 3 times just to make sure that I would stop. Not because I was going really fast, but there was some negotiation going on. As a downside of me being stopping there, giving her an extra hint, yes, you can really go. I lost the e-bikes. The girl on the e-bike before. She's over there somewhere. I figured we were already close to the park, but it was further than you can see this has been upgraded. Looking at the road surface not that long ago. And you can see that the quality becomes better with these upgrades and generation things. Is she still here? No, she's gone. I'm not sure where she went. Again, if these side bicycle paths, which in the 70s and the 80s were not red, it would have been less clear, right? But in this case, I think making a change like this makes it way more clear for everybody. Also, they use a different material, so it's not just a red color. It's not like a red paint. It really is different asphalt. And again, a good example, when in doubt, they put a bicycle sign there, so that you won't go on the main road. And if somebody does, then so you see these, let's say, new generation of traffic lights for bicycles popping up more and more, where we get 4 different signals. So also a timer or some countdown mechanism. They're not standardized yet, but they're getting closer and closer to, I guess, becoming a standard. And here we go again. Now, it was quite a dull day because we're in the middle of December. I did fiddle a little bit with the video quality and made it more colorful and lighter in the settings. So the colors are a bit off compared to what they should be. But yeah, it looks a little bit more fun to look at. You also notice when there are reflective areas that you can see that I have my headlight on. And I always have my lights on, even in the daytime. And they're very powerful lights, as you can see. You can even see them in the daytime. Again, I'm stopping because I was wondering what to do. Maybe I've already seen the windmill here, and I'm like, hey, I want to end up at the windmill. I forgot. I might have. Gone like, I want to end up there. How do I get there? I didn't talk about it, but I assume by now I've put in different maps. As a hint, I also will put the video most likely in the top left corner. Somebody asked for this, and I will try again if that's a better position for it. So tell me if you think it's a better position. I think I've spotted the mill here, the windmill, and decided to go for there, but I'm not sure if it was already here. Clearly there are people outside in this park. So you can imagine how busy this will be in the summertime, given that it's the mid of December. And I know that it sounds like I'm making fun of people, but if I'm riding in, let's say, in the United States, then on a road like this, you would probably hear a lot of "to your left, to your left, to your left." If you're coming up to somebody walking, and they will probably react unpredictable or just look around. Notice how little, let's say, proactive interaction there is, right? People just know what's going to happen, and there are subtle hints. And it's almost all done automatically. That's just how our brain works, right? If you see like these, I think they're probably school kids. Well, not in this case. They might have been. But if there are 3 or 4 next to each other, I might assume it's a group of school kids. They will go a little bit slower and they will weave around a little bit more because they are doing all kinds of things with their friends, which are next to them on their school trip. In this case I was wrong, but you see I made an assumption on what I see, and sometimes of course you are wrong. And you automatically sort of anticipate based on what you are seeing. So it's not just the let's say the design of the road and the signage on the road. It's also the time of day and the other people. Your brain makes assumptions, and that's why it's you have to get used to it. But that's why it's also different in different areas of the world. And it's way more subtle than so you sometimes see if you see a bicycle video about Amsterdam, for example, where they just yell, "Get off the red roads! Get off the red roads! Be careful for bikes!" Which is partly true in Amsterdam, but it's more subtle. You can see I'm trying to figure out how to get to the windmill here, and I decided it has to be this spot, and I was right. And we are almost at the end of the first part of this video. I did put some extra, and there we see the windmill, that we are going to use an endpoint, or midpoint in this case, because I'm going to stop the video here, and then add a few look-arounds before we go back, which will be the next video I'm going to make. And we are going to use the canals the two big canals to right back to the starting point, which you see on the map, by the way. So this is quite a nice area. I didn't see it before, but it's a watery sort of area with attractions for kids, animals, and some other stuff. And I decided to stop here. And I think I've added a few seconds of video next to it. So yeah, watch the me going back also, I guess, if you want to. Which I will probably call the canal route, because it's mostly next to the canals and quite quick. But it's kind of a nice area. Yep, you see, I just took the camera off the bike and just looking around. I put this in there. It's, this is a polder a polder windmill in Nieuwegein. So thank you for watching and see you in the next one.